Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Thank you guys all so much for stopping by. As always, my name is Eli. Tuesdays and Thursdays are the days in which we do Q&As, answering any and all of your guys' questions pertaining to Pokemon, not pertaining to Pokemon. But obviously for today's topic, we're going to talk about some supply, which I actually got some more news. I'll get into that here in a second. But before we jump into it, as always, we do weekly giveaways. All you have to do to enter, leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe. We also do Twitter giveaways as well. Got an active one going on right now for a Lost Origin Elite Trainer box. Highly recommend you follow us on there to enter in. But then outside of that, if we ever have any spots for Patreon, highly recommend you join. As, I mean, you get access to Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, so much more, wholesale pricing. And then the Discord is the place to be if you want to stay up to date on all things Pokemon USA, be a part of the community. And yeah, so I'm excited. Let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Give a couple shout outs to people that are here so far. Collectible Accounting, Joker, Ripper, Mikkel, RD. Already answered that. Package Total, Willpower, Tori, Catch 'em All. And that seems to be it so far, which is funny because we've got quite a bit of people watching so far. It says we've got 27 people that are watching off the bat, which is pretty good. So I guess a lot of people are just here to listen and not to talk because they want to know about the conversation. Well, I shouldn't tease it any longer then in terms of the news that I just got informed about. So we talked about this. So a couple things. I talked to my rep briefly, and I just confirmed with him 1,000% the allocation numbers I got they're 100%. So nothing's gonna be changed. This is it. These are my numbers. So, you know, quadruple the amount almost for ETBs and booster boxes. You know, almost double the amount. So fantastic. He also informed me, however, he said, "Hey Eli, just letting you know, we just got absolutely dumped with a ton of Scarlet and Violet booster boxes." So I'm here to tell you it is confirmed. Scarlet and Violet is getting, whether it be another wave, whether it be a reprint, whatever you want to call it, they're getting absolutely dumped. So incoming low 90s, sub 90s booster box prices for Scarlet and Violet base set. I don't know why they're doing this, but maybe it's because they want to do this now so that in the future they're like, all right, we made it so you guys can buy Scarlet and Violet base set for dirt cheap. This is it. Get in, get out. And then don't worry about it. But it's crazy, man. It is honest to God crazy. Andrew says, I didn't honestly know if you paid attention to that. Andrew, let me put it for you this way. I, at the very beginning of every stream, will always announce the people's names that say hi to the very beginning. And I will answer like 90 to 95% of questions asked. Like the other 5% I won't ask are usually just questions I've answered like already like 5 times in the stream. Otherwise, it's an inappropriate question, which very rarely comes up. So I'm very much so responsive with the chat. I'm doing my best to talk to you guys as much as I can. Not to mention, like, if we're talking the most amount of people I've ever had on a stream before, it's like 120, 130. And even then, I've been able to go through typically and answer everyone's questions because it's not like we're having rapid fire, like 1,000 questions being asked. Like, it just depends on how much I want to pace myself, you know? But hottest 20-year-old in the West. What's up, Catch 'em All? Appreciate it. Reprint? Sub 90 SV would be crazy and a no-brainer pickup. Yeah, it's going to be for dirt cheap, ladies and gentlemen. Which I'm talking to my rep about it right now because I'm honest to God in the process of trying to see if we can negotiate getting it for. So wholesale right now is $95.50, and for SV base, because obviously it's so low demand, I'm trying to see if I can negotiate it down to $93 a piece because I'm like, come on, man. If you're going to sell us a crap ton because you want us to move it, we're going to need some contingencies because I'm not just going to say pick it up for $95.50. Right now he's saying he'll do 94. I said, frick that. We want 93. So I'm very much trying to like wiggle my way down in price, but he has to, you know, see if he can get the okay from the boss first and decide what they're going to do with those because, I mean, they ain't going to move. That's for sure. I mean, who knows? Maybe you've got a bunch of storefronts that are going to want to buy them, but it is... it's gonna be dirt cheap on the secondary market. So yes, what was I gonna say? Wow, man, that's incredible new to the channel. Just like just watched your first video the other day. Seems you're really committed and professional. I appreciate that, Andrew. I try and be as interactive with the chat as I possibly can, because for me, how I look at it is I want this, and I've said this before, so I won't spiel it to you guys again. I'm very community oriented. I'm very community based. I want to make it so that we're very much like a tight-knit community of individuals that obviously we have our own differing opinions and so on and so forth, but we're having productive conversations. And yes, for the most part, I can be professional, but I do have my moments where we'll just kind of goof off. But to be fair, I get baited by the chat because they always want to talk about funny things, or we'll do funny things that are lighthearted. But for me, I like doing that kind of stuff as well, because I like to have a sense of professionalism. Like, that's kind of my main brand, but then there's still like a goofy side to me, so it doesn't seem as if I have a stick up my butt all the time, right? Like, me on camera versus me off camera is completely different, because I'm not spending my entire, well, okay, I'm spending a large portion of my life talking about Pokemon, but for the times in which I am not talking about Pokemon, it's very much so like me joking and having fun and stuff. So it's we out here, that's all I can say. Could you quickly go over the dropshipping options for the wholesale program? What's required from us shipping labels? Okay, Hash, so here's how I have, so for those of you guys that are a part of the Patreon, obviously, listen up. I have now what's called the direct option, which how that's going to work is when you go to the submission form, what you need to do if you want to be able to do this is you have an option to say ship to you or shipped using direct. As you guys who have been in the program and have ordered already know, when it comes to shipping, you have to pay for shipping from me to you, right? Which for a lot of you guys, you've already pre-sold the item and or you have a buyer ready to go. And so it makes most sense for you to basically say, hey, rather than double ship it, because I'm going to, have to pay shipping twice from, me to you and you to your customer. And also, it's going to take twice as long for it to get to the customer because it has to go from me to you and you to your customer. How about we cut that out and I ship it directly to your customer. You save money, you save time. All you have to do is just pay a $5 flat rate fee per case. And then on top of that, just make sure that you send me the labels via our email, shipping@pokemartusa.com. With that, we obviously have a list of pre-made dimensions for specific high-demand Pokemon items. If we don't have dimensions for those items, obviously make sure to either find them online and or, ask other people in the market that know dimensions for specific items. But basically, that's kind of the general process. You just fill it out with direct. Once your order has been filled for this open order item, then what you do is, you just shoot us over the email and then good to go, right? So that's kind of how the general process of it is going to work, which I'm excited about it because one of the biggest things I hear all the time, and I've talked with you guys about it, is most of the time, like, earliest you can receive your product for a new set release is the day of, because it's just breaking policy. But if I can ship it to one of your guys' customers day of, then they can receive it day of, then that's going to be awesome for you guys. It's going to make you guys look great. It's going to be a much better, relationship with your customers as well as me. So it just is an overall thing that I'm excited about. So that is how it generally works, Hash. Moving on, is CZ singles and sealed becoming Shining Fates 2.0? So I don't think that it is, honestly, Market Scraper. Now, in terms of the overall supply of the singles, yes, there is an argument to be made that it is supply-wise for singles. If we can actually go take a look at that for, ooh, look, have they always had a tab for Obsidian Flames, or did they just add this? Pre-selling for 130, love that. Pokemon Center exclusive ETB going for 200. Yeah, don't fall into that. Frick that. But anyway, Crown Zenith. So if we go to Crown Zenith and we look at just the gallery first and foremost, right? I'll show this on the other screen. For the gallery, nope, I did not pick that. Yeah, Giratina, it's doing what I anticipated it was going to do, which is sub 100. This is not surprising. I mean, this is $91, $92. It's going to keep going, guys. I said this before, I'll say it again. This is an item that, is going to keep going. It was printed heavily. I mean, I would love to go back to my video and just be like, I had some people saying, no way it's going sub 100. I mean, guys, it's going to go much lower at this point. I think realistically we could see us go to the low 80s. I think that's possible. But in terms of the overall sealed product of it all, when it comes to Crown Zenith, if we just look at the general pricing right now for it, I mean, here, we'll go sealed product. Booster box, or sorry, Elite Trainer box prices are going for still slightly above MSRP. The tins themselves are slightly below. More Pacos at wholesale. I mean, here's the deal, guys. We know that Crown Zenith is an amazing set. Everyone loves, well, a lot of people like Crown Zenith. It's a fantastic set. It's a set that people absolutely enjoy the crap ton out of. So in my mind, I look at this set and I say to myself, Shining Fates, although there's a ton of hype around it when it came out, a lot of that was fabricated because of COVID and it being one of our first specialty sets, versus this is one to round out the Sword and Shield era, and it's one that's just jam-packed full of alternate arts. It's not just a, oh, this is a bunch of, you know, glaring cards and they've got a shiny art, right? This is bigger than that. This is a set that's got so many different cool alternate art designs. It's the introduction of the alternate art trainers. It's like, it's an incredible, amazing set. And for that reason, I think it's going to do much, much, much better than Shining Fates long term. And for the prices in which you're able to pick up a lot of the stuff at, I think it's ridiculously cheap. I think that it shouldn't be this cheap, but it is. For that reason, it's an amazing pickup. So in terms of will I you know, see prices of the singles kind of crash in the same way? Arguably, it's entirely possible, because I mean, Hidden Fate singles have crashed drastically since the first release. But for something like this, it's like, dude, this is so good. This is so good in terms of investment opportunities. So I'm excited. Honestly, the chicken nugget stream brought me here. I know, I need to do another one of those again. So there is this place. Okay, so I don't know when I'll do this again, because I know the chicken nugget stream was a big deal, but there is this one place that is like 5 minutes from my house that does 80-cent wings on Sundays. One of these days, I will have to do an impromptu Sunday stream where I go in and I buy like 40 or 60 wings and just pound it down. Just for the funs again, because you guys, I know how much you guys love it. I'm going to douse it all in a oh, dude, their wings are solid too, so I'm excited about that. No soggy, cold chicken nuggets, frick that. What's under the radar sets are you looking for? Paldea Evolved. I mean, when you say under the radar, in my mind, I think slept on. Like low-key, everyone's kind of sleeping on it. And Paldea Evolved that's the one for me. I mean, obviously, you know, prices are continuing to drop. It's 105 on TCG Player. Market price, you can get them anywhere between, I mean, we're talking, you can get Paldea, honestly, for $92 on some secondary markets. So it's insane. You know, the Magikarp is obviously crashing. Iono prices are coming. I mean, prices are coming down, finally, on this set. But with that being said, I look at this set overall and I look at how well it could do long term, because here's the deal, folks. There's a couple of things to consider. One, yes, does this set have a Charizard, a Reshiram, or sorry, not Reshiram, a Giratina, a Rayquaza, a Lugia? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But the thing is, what it does have is incredible art designs that are going to hold up. The Magikarp and the Tyranitar are cards that also have gorgeous art designs, and from my personal experience and from what we've seen statistically, they are hard cards to pull. They are not easy cards to pull. It has an alternate art waifu card. Oh, I'm sorry, SIR. Whatever, I don't care. It's got some, you know, new characters, and to be quite fair, I know a lot of people always are gonna not look at, you know, new characters the same way, because, you know, it's always nostalgic based, but, you know, Chimpao is, in my opinion, it's just, I think it's so cool. I think it's such a cool card. I think it's such a cool art design for Pokemon. I like a lot of the new Pokemon. If I'm being honest, this might sound extremely weird. This is the set that's going to potentially make me want to go buy Scarlet Violet, the video game, because I haven't bought it yet. I've bought almost every single Pokemon game except for Sun and Moon. And I took a break most recently because after Arceus, I just kind of had a bad taste in my mouth. I felt like Arceus was a really grindy game. It was solid at the very beginning, and then it got kind of grindy. And then Diamond and Pearl was just a complete disappointment as someone who's a huge Gen 4 fan. So for me, it's like, I just want to take a break. And this set, with it showcasing a lot of the new Pokemon arts, it really is starting to like rub me the right way. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. Right now, the interpretation that people have of this set is this is the Rebel Clash of the Scarlet Violet era, right? They look at this set and they say, okay, well, what are the main hits, right? Scarlet Violet and, you know, Rebel Clash. They both got waifus. They both got a boss's orders. Obviously, with this set, the art designs are on crack, and so that's why it's going to hold up a lot better. But at the end of the day, people look at this set and they say to themselves, oh, it's super lackluster because it's so easy to get the hits and this and this and that. Like, I hear all these excuses, but at the end of the day, it's like, for me personally, there's just so much to love for me about this set that I think it's extremely slept on, and this was obviously short printed. We'll see what ends up happening as Scarlet and Violet base just got reprinted. So it wouldn't surprise me if Paldea Evolved got also reprinted at this point, or, you know, another wave, whatever it ends up being. But I think that it's an extremely slept on set. I've been saying this for a while because it's so funny too, because when I make the argument saying that people are going to look at this as the, you know, Rebel Clash of the Scarlet and Violet era, people immediately assume I'm talking crap about it in the perspective that I don't like this set. I really love this set. I'm super high in this set. It's just there's a difference between me talking about it from the lens of the market versus my own personal opinion. I try to disconnect the two, but also bring them both around so I can get both perspectives. Would this work if you ship from TCG Player? I don't know what you mean by that, Carlos. I guess if you're saying if you sell on TCG Player, would this work? Yes, it would work, because with TCG Player, literally all you have to do is just take a label and you just copy the tracking and throw it into TCG Player. So if you're saying, hey, can I, in theory, right, ship the product to your TCG Player customer, I can do that. You just obviously have to handle the customer aspect of it and the return label. It's exactly the same, right? Nothing changes with that. Do you know if Canadians have to pay an import fee on product? I do not know that. We have a couple of people in the program that are from Canada. I would not be surprised if they did that, you know, which for some people, they've actually started to open businesses, you know, or get their business licenses within the US, because it just is a lot easier to buy and sell Pokemon in the US and have me handle it for them, right? Or other people that they pay. Pokemon Crasher, yikes. All right, Demo, out here. Oh, that is off color. Admit my mysterious tins are the secret product. I don't even know what that is. So the making label and sending you the labels, label it for only direct shipping to our customer, like a return address and then address, or is it also we want shipping it to us? No, so how it works, Joker, is if you want it shipped to you, nothing changes. We just keep the program the same it is, right? You just keep filling it how it is. However, if you want it shipped to your customer, you have to create the label. You're the return to sender address. That's it. It's just a completely different process if you want it shipped to your customer directly versus me. Because at the end of the day, right, it's a lot of coordination on my part to try and ship it to a customer. As you guys are aware, the biggest thing is that we have an automated system to ship to you guys because we're, you know, you're recurring customers. And so we have you guys in our system. But if I have to add a new system address every time, like I just wouldn't be able to do it. So we put that onus on you guys to fill that part out via paying for your own label and shipping it, and then sending us the label, and then we ship it. Makes our lives easier so that we can supply that for you guys. It only takes a little bit of extra time for us, and you know, it's a win-win for everyone all around. Have you figured out how you're handling 151 release while getting married? That's a great question, The Great. My anticipation right now is either one of two things is going to happen. One, I'm in the process of getting approval to have 151 shipped early to me. So that's going to be really cool. So if it's possible, you know, I talked to my rep, he said we should make it work. It should be possible. Keep you posted. But if that, you know, falls through by some chance, I have someone on standby who their job will literally be just to just hit the freaking and just make sure UPS gets the product, right? Because I'm gonna have to pre-schedule pickup for delivery when that does end up eventually happening. I'm shocked the Altar Charizard V is 130-140. Yeah, I know, it's extremely underrated. How is the Marnie Morpeko collection still at like 25 bucks? It's slept on. It's at 25, Wrestle, because you said the obvious out loud that no one, or the not so obvious out loud. You called it the Marnie Morpeko collection. It's called the Morpeko collection. People forget that there's a Marnie, and the playmat itself shows predominantly the Marnie. Like, but people don't think of it that way because it's called the Morpeko playmat. So it's just poor marketing on their part. And I think for that reason, it's so just, it's ridiculous. Can you provide a breakdown / cost fees when selling on eBay versus TCG Player? It's exactly the same. It's identical from my personal experience. I mean, it's like, now granted, it depends on which, you know, if you're in the pro program versus not the pro program, but it's roughly around a 2.9% fee plus an additional like 12% in fees. So I just would say it's about 14 to 15%. It might be slightly different, but they're almost identical. You think I should sell the full art I own or keep it because it's a waifu? I mean, it's up to you, man. When I pulled both my waifus, I sold them immediately because I knew the prices were gonna drop, but I know long term it's gonna do well, and there's gonna be a point where it's gonna shoot up to 200 bucks, and we're all gonna say, "Oh, I never saw this coming," but we all saw this coming. You know what I mean? Like, that day is gonna happen. It's just not. I'm not there for it yet. You know. Who's the worst new SV Pokemon? Oh gosh, am I gonna ruin someone's day by saying that? Who's the worst new SV Pokemon? That's a fantastic question. Worst. That's tough, dude, to say worst. Oh, I feel like I'm just going for it there. I would say that I need to think about that one, because as someone, like I've said before, I haven't played the game yet, so there isn't one that I can really point to and say, wow, I have a large amount of disdain for this Pokemon. Do they hurt the other box set 151? People buy the boxes as those are the only way to get packs with bundles now. I have a feeling promo boxes will stay even at 155. I honestly believe, Jim, that booster bundles could potentially hurt the 4-pack boxes the most, just based on the logic that you're putting down, especially since 4-pack boxes don't include the large promos, which you might not think because no one really liked the large promos, but a lot of kids did, and they enjoyed collecting them, and so the demand for that is going to be even lower because, I mean, if I'm correct, I think prices are going to stay the same. It's not like they're dropping it down by $1 to manufacture the product, so we're getting less for, we're paying more for less, you know? Eli, do you think the waifu mania is over? I think the waifu mania is never going to be over. I think that's going to be a thing that's going to happen as long as men exist. I mean, unless there's a huge cultural shift and you start to see less simps in the world, I highly doubt that it's not going to be around at some point. From Canada here, no custom import fees in Canada. You simply just pay a 13% tax, which is killer. Dang, that is tough. How long do you think booster boxes will go with the absolute refusal of new MSRP? I'm thinking there will be heavy losses, sadly. Here's my opinion on this, right? I think it is really dumb that they thought it was a good idea to have the price jump from 85 to 95. This is just me. I think if they were smart about it, what they should have done is, and don't get me wrong, I understand that this is, from what I've been told, negotiated on a generational basis. And when I say generational, I mean, like, you know, Sword and Shield era, Sun and Moon era, Scarlet Violet era. But I think it would have been smart if you could have done, and maybe people didn't do it because it set up a precedence. If they did $90 for the first half of Scarlet and Violet and $95 for the second half. Because historically speaking, when it comes to new generations, the first half is the one that always does the worst. It always does. And for Scarlet and Violet base and Paldea Evolved, seeing the prices up as high as they are right now, it makes it extremely difficult for me to justify the fact that we're not going to see a just huge lack of demand coming out the gate, right? And like I said, maybe there's some behind the scenes work that I'm probably, you know, not taking into consideration because I'm unaware of the information. But for me, it's something that they can't go back on anymore. They've already opened the can of worms. They're saying $95. You know, some websites or some distributors as high as $100. This is the new MSRP wholesale pricing, and this is what's going to be in the future. If they backtrack it now, it's just going to make them look so freaking bad. And I doubt they're going to do that because, listen, it's still selling. It, honest to God, is still selling. Like, it might not be selling at big box retailers, but booster boxes, they are still selling. They're still in demand. People still want them. And for that reason, I think that there's no justification for them at this point to go back on it. However, I mean, think about it, guys. They said they're going to dump more Scarlet Violet. Probably planned this out preemptively already, so it's not like this is something that they just all of a sudden said, wow, Scarlet Violet has been such a smash hit, let's just print more of it. Like, no, it's probably been, hey, we already had some supply. We saw based off of the first wave that, you know, this set, it did fine, but it's not looking too hot, but we have a lot in the back room just in case something happened, and we're going to dump that, and they're not going to print more after this. But, you know, I could be wrong. Why don't you let your crazy business partner handle the 151 distro? Because that is not fair to him, because he already has a lot to deal. Okay, crazy. Oh, well, he's not crazy. Okay, this is someone else. Okay, you're joking now. Any info on Larkana? No info on Larkana. There was a flamingo that was just a flamingo. But what's wrong with the flamingo? I like the flamingo. For new eBay sellers, what's the sweet spot for ETBs or booster boxes on price and shipping cost on the listing to make sure you will still profit after listing? For me personally, there isn't really a sweet spot to it from my personal experience. What I typically would say is how I've always done it is I've literally just been if I see there's margins, I sell it. If there isn't margins, I don't sell it. And it's as simple as that. Because if there's a booster box that I'm buying for $95.50 and it's selling for $105 after shipping and fees, I'm wrecked. But if there's a booster box that I am buying for $95.50 and it's selling for $150, then there's margins, right? That's kind of how I like to look at it. Which, this is something I will say is really nice, however, is there is pre-order pricing, but the only way to access pre-order pricing on TCG Player is to have a storefront. So if we go to Obsidian Flames right now, and we see what is the price for Obsidian Flames booster boxes right now, it is currently at the $130 price point. If you look at the volume of sales, this is something that is indeed selling. People are selling this, right? This is moving. This is just me. One of my long-term plans is to get a pop-up storefront in Arizona, because that's where I live currently, that I will use specifically for the wholesale program. And one of the benefits of that is going to be selling product for pre-sale, so you can get those immediate margins, right? So you say you're selling this for, we'll round it up for $130. We say times 0.85 minus $10, or no, it's not going to cost $10 to ship. It's going to cost closer to $8 to ship. You're talking 102 minus 95.5, $7 margins. You might say to yourself, that's not a lot, that's sub 10%. But for a booster box, I mean, you're taking that all day. You're taking that all day, right? Because if you sell 1,000 of these, that's $7,000, which sounds crazy to say, because you're like, that's it, only $7,000 for a new set release, you know? But anyway, I digress with that. The point I guess I'm more or less making with this is the idea of the prop-up will be for the Patreon program, or to get access to pre-sale pricing. That's going to be something we're going to do in the future. Oh, that's a great one. I 100% agree with you, Julian. Varoom is terrible. Varoom is so bad. I do not like Varoom. Yep, I concur 100%. Do not like Varoom. Britney Spears or Christina Aguilera? Eminem. Only right answer. Earthworm is F tier. As long as men and Pokemon cards exist, that's what I'm saying, man. Do you think the case of CUPC for 92 each after shipping and tax is a good pickup? I think that's, honestly, you could probably find it for 85. Do I think 92.50 is a good pickup? Yes, I do think it's a good pickup. But I would be surprised if you couldn't find it elsewhere for like cheaper. But to be fair, you are including taxes. But I don't know. I feel like if I were you, Snoopy, I would join. If you're not a part of the Discord yet, I would join it and check some of the links. See if there's any active links in our deals that tell people that there's some CUPCs. That's what I would do. But it's not a bad price if you can't find any cheaper. Did anyone ever figure out how the Brilliant Stars PC ETBs were being sold on eBay from in 36 months ago? Oh yeah. I did a full breakdown video talking about it. Which I don't think they're doing that anymore. There was some logistics to that. I don't think they're doing that anymore. But I could be wrong about that. Based on allocation news, do I have room to up my order? Do we just think we're closer to being 100% filled? So obviously chase them down. Right now, you know, allocations. I assume you're talking for 151 because 151 allocations are obviously 151 allocations or pre-orders are still up. If you want to, since they are still available, you can up your orders for 151. That is totally fine, and I will put in the order to up it. However, this will be our first ever specialty set as a program. We did not get in we got in after Crown Zenith. So our first ever set we ever did was Scarlet Violet base set, and our first ever specialty set is going to be 151. With that being said, there have obviously been reports, as discussed on yesterday's video, we're going to get a dump of 151. We know as well that, currently speaking, based off of Obsidian Flames, our allocation numbers are looking juicy. For that reason, it is entirely possible that we do get a crap ton of it, right? It is 1000% entirely possible we do get a crap ton of it, and it might be worth upping your numbers. Only time's really going to tell with that one. So it wouldn't hurt to do it, right? It wouldn't hurt. I can't really like say it's a bad thing, right? To attempt to do it, right? I guess for me, although everything is pointing to the right direction, since this is still our first one, I just get kind of skeptical because, let me put it to you this way. When it comes time for me to pre-order booster boxes, I know how many booster boxes to order because we have history on that. But Elite Trainer boxes, I don't know what's the same. You know, equating the two, right? Like, do I equate it by dollar value? Do I equate it by unit, right? Because if I put in an order for 1,000 booster boxes, but booster boxes are half the price of the ETBs, right? You know what I mean? So it'll be interesting to see how they kind of allocate that out differently. Because in my mind, I could be like, yo, we just got 720 booster boxes. That's insane. And then for the next set, we only get 1,000 ETBs. Like, it might feel like a lot, but from a value perspective, that's not really that much, you know? So we'll see. But I'm hoping I've so far put in an order for at least 2,000 of them. That's kind of the hope. I would love to be able to get at least around, I mean, what is that even? 2,000 of them. I mean, I think we're buying them for like 30, I can't remember. It's like 32 or 35. So let's say 35, and I'm buying 2,000 of them. I mean, that's not even a lot, honestly. That's how much we're sending on booster boxes. I should probably up our numbers, honestly, just based off of if we're talking numbers we just got. So, yeah, I don't know. It'll definitely be interesting to see. Hey, Eli, hope you're doing well. My question is if you had to start a Pokemon business from scratch with $1,000, how would you start the business? Well, so here's the deal. You said business. You didn't say long-term investment. So I'm going to answer this question from the perspective of someone who's wanting to start a business. If it were me personally, what I would do is I think the easiest way to start a Pokemon business is singles. So easy to do singles. So what I would honest to God do is I would take my $1,000 and I would go through and use it to either buy up old collections or buy cheap Pokemon bulk that I can easily sell to get my account on TCG Player up to 1,000 1,000 reviews, right? Isn't that how many it is? I can't remember what the exact. Just get to direct level 4, or get to level 4 and then get to direct. That's what I would do. I would use that money to just churn as much as I could, because the biggest thing people always complain about is there's only so much you can have on inventory, and you don't have the same flexibility when it comes to adjusting your shipping. So you're going to have to take the L at the very beginning, but it's an investment that you're going to make for the long term of your account, because the amount of money to be made in bulk, and if I'm being quite honest, also Magic, I mean, Pokemon's good, but Magic's also really good, is just insane. There's so much money to be made in bulk, and I think you can really get creative with that and go that kind of direction. It's obviously a lot of work that's going to be incorporated in it. I mean, Lord knows how much we've had to do, especially since getting the Roka and pushing out volume. But there's a path, which is what is really nice, right? When it comes to opening a storefront, there's not a direct path of how you run the storefront. Versus if you're someone that's wanting to get into the bulk game, there's a path on how you do it, right? You go start at TCG Player, you open a TCG Player account, you get to level 4, you get to the direct program, you get to the SYP program. You then build up your numbers, you build up your bulk over time, you eventually transition into continuing to scale your volume up, you get a Roka, you get a Fizz badge, you progressively can continue to snowball and build this thing up, right? And that's what makes it extremely valuable, unique. And once you get to the point, I feel as if with Magic, you don't have to know Magic technically speaking without a Roka, but if you have a Roka, then it's even better, because some of the things that you can do with it is go buy a bunch of high margin Magic items, and straight up, if you go look here, I can actually demonstrate this. What I want to have a discussion about. How do I look at this? So one of the biggest things I would say, wow, I need to really get used to the new changes they made. Okay, so if you go right now to TCG Player, they have what's called a SYP program. So with the SYP program, the whole purpose of it is with Direct, how the Direct program works is you basically are fulfilling their inventory of cards that they're selling on your behalf. So let's say that you have, I don't know, let's say a Pikachu that is from Evolving Skies, and it's selling for 10 cents, right? What the Direct business model is going to look like is they're going to say, hey, at our warehouse at TCG Player, we have over 1,000 Pikachus. So if you have any inventory of Pikachus, we can fulfill that order for you on our behalf. All you have to do is when it's time for us to ask for reimbursement, you ship all of those cards at once to us and reimburse our inventory. But it basically is going to save you time so you can do more volume. And on top of that, you're able to slightly charge more because it's direct. So for example, if I were to have 100 orders without direct, they're all going to be directly envelope orders. And for those of you guys that have done 100 envelopes, it takes a long amount of time. Heck, we have a paper folding machine and we have window envelopes to try and expedite the process. It still takes a while, right, to do 100 envelopes. And for that reason, it's just a lot of time. And you might say to yourself, well, direct program, though, it's going to take 50%. But when you ask yourself the question, okay, 15 versus 50%, what's going to make the most sense? Well, considering the fact of the matter, depending upon what you're buying stamps for, right, it's going to cost you way more shipping. But two, you have to equate the value of time, because if you say to yourself, cool, I just saved 20 cents on this order because I decided to do stamps instead of direct. Okay, well, how long did it take you to ship that order out? Okay, well, it took me 2 minutes to ship the order out, versus with the direct program, it would have taken you like half the time. you have to equate your time on how much you value that, right? And that's kind of where direct starts. What SYP is, the store your product program is you're now going to directly fulfill their inventory that they have for the direct program. So it's like a program within a program where you're supplying them through each part of it all, right? And so there's this inventory list of product for the SYP where they tell you what they want in terms of fulfillment, right? We need inventory for these specific items that we can use for the SYP/direct program. If you go to Pokemon, this is how far the list goes. It is Iono, Jet Energy, Reverse Energy, Nest Ball, Comfey, Switch Card. I mean, you can go all the way down to here, and you're just now done with the Sword and Shield era / Scarlet Violet era, right? So there's a grand total of about 15, 20 cards in this, and you can go farther. You can go farther back, right? You've got Unified Minds, you got Cosmic Eclipse, you got some other cards, right? You can do this with a couple pages worth, right? But here's the deal, guys. As you can see, for each set, there's maybe best case scenario 1 to 5 cards. Now let's go to Magic. All right, let's take a look. March of the Machine Aftermath. Whole first page of Aftermath. Oh, look, let me do 50 per page. Whole first 50 per page. So 2 pages worth for Pokemon for one, right? Let's go even farther than that. Oh, finally, after 75/80, we finally have something that's not part of the SYP program. So I guess more or less the point that I'm making is from a scaling perspective. Right now, although Pokemon is extremely, it's great. Like, Pokemon is fantastic. If you're going to go the model of max efficiency, like churning as much as you can, the SYP program is going to be massive for you because you're able to preemptively ship product, which they're going to fulfill on your behalf, and you don't have to spend all that time going through and individually shipping the orders. They're going to ship it all out for you, right? And it's going to make your life so much easier, right? So that's why I like the SYP program so much more with Magic than I do Pokemon, which is why I've started to do a little bit of transitioning into Magic bulk as well as Pokemon bulk. Pokemon bulk is still fantastic. There's still decent margins on it, but it's just something that is not super available with SYP. Now, if you're not going the SYP route and you're just trying to say, I only want to stick Pokemon for this example I give, I don't want to do Magic, even though I think, it's still worth consideration, then definitely just going the route of heavily pushing the direct program as you scale is going to be big, because volume is key, time is key, and really trying to pump that out and continuously buying sealed product, which you can break down for value, which there's going to be tons of opportunities for you to do that. But that is kind of how, if it were me, I would personally take my first $1,000, and if I had to start a Pokemon business, I think that would be the easiest route. And I made a full video on it. It was like 2 weeks ago. It didn't do that well. It only got like 1,000 views, but it was a full in-depth breakdown video of like how to get started out with that. And I linked at the very bottom of the video talking about one of the biggest, if not the biggest seller on TCG Player, gaming company that did $17 million in sales last year. So the money's there, man. The money's there. All right. Sorry, that took forever. Moving on to the next question. Follow-up question from Chasem says, are we getting a flat amount of cases rather than percentage of allocation? It's going to be percentage of allocation. That's just how I've always done it, Chasem. Did you see the TBC? I did see it, and I saw that one of the people in the Discord messaged saying odds are that it's going to be one of the same people that got over 2,000 special delivery Charizard codes is going to win it because of bots. So it's kind of sad to say, but yeah, I saw that. Pika Heisenberg. I honestly don't even know what either of those people look like, if I'm being honest. Hey bro, hope all is going well for you. I appreciate that. What do you think about buying a Moonbreon CGC Pristine 10 with subgrades for 1K? I'm feeling that the old slabs and the blue labels will explode in value some year. It's tough, man. It's honest to God tough, because for me personally, it's so speculative. It's extremely speculative, right? And although in theory you will always have an opportunity to go in for $5 flat and have them relabel it. So in theory, there's technically like a low side risk when going CGC. But at the same exact time, for me, you know, this might sound controversial. I don't know how much I believe in CGC as a long-term business. And it could be extremely successful, right? And this merger could be fantastic for it in the long term. This is going to be, as I mentioned in the video, a short-term thing that people are going to get upset about, but then long-term it's going to do really well. Or it could be one of these things where people just absolutely crap on it, and then it kind of peters out, and PSA just keeps doing what PSA does. So you're obviously going to always take an explicit risk. And there's also no guarantee if you do say, well, at least I have the Moonbryon, and you crack it open and you send it into PSA, and all of a sudden it ends up getting a 10. There's still also a risk there. There's no guarantee with that. But, you know, I'm not saying don't. Like, I'm not saying I advise against it, but I am saying that it's definitely very speculative. It could pay off, right? It could, or it could just be, you know, you locking up liquidity for no reason. So I know that's kind of a no answer, and I apologize for not giving you, you know, more to that, but that's just kind of my thought process out loud. I personally would not do it, but that's just me. Okay, how about what's your favorite regional Pokemon variant? Ooh, favorite regional Pokemon variant? Oh, dang. That is a good question. On my Pokemon regional variant. Gosh dang it, I have to go. Now, I'm going to have to look this up because I got to have the list in front of me. I got to know regional forms that I can think of off the top of my head, because there's so many regional forms to think about. Oh, that's an easy one. I would say that for me personally, it's gotta be the Moltres. I mean, this is such a sick Pokemon. The card is so good. Yeah, by far, Moltres that's the answer. You got him. I mean, that card is gorgeous too. Like, what's that card going for right now? I mean, where is this? In Chilling Reign? What's that card going for right now? Probably 120, 130, probably. Nailed it. 123. Nice. I mean, this card, it's gone sideways, but I mean, it went from sub 100 and it's gone up. It's such a gorgeous card. I love this card so much. So there's never margins. Carlos, welcome to the game of sealed product. I've said this before, I'll say it again. There can be margins. There always can be margins, right? But the thing is that if you're going the TCG player to sell sealed product, I usually advise against it. The only time I don't advise against it is if you've got like loose packs. Because we had someone, for example, that was going in and buying a bunch of Evolving Skies loose packs, and they were doing it for like $4 a piece, and they were wanting to make the most money out of it. How would you go about doing it? And what I advise for them to do is literally go in, take a picture of their 36 packs, list it under Evolving Skies booster boxes with images, say that they have 36 loose packs, sell it, boom, double your money. Like instances like that where it's just so free. Like, of course you're going to sell it on that. But for sealed product, how I look at both eBay and TCG Player is it's the place I go to if I know I can pump out sealed product volume and I just want the liquidity now, right? Versus for me personally, if I'm going to get the most value for selling sealed, I would prefer to sell it locally or sell it off of one of these places in like a Facebook group, because sure, you might not get as much value out of it, right? But you're going to get much better margins when you don't factor in the fees and the shipping, right? And that's why local is even better. What's it going to take for vintage to move? It's stagnant compared to modern. I've been picking up legendary collection reverses. I would say that it's very interesting because vintage is in a lot different of a place than modern is, as it always is typically. But with modern, right now, modern is at the whims of just the constant demand of Pokemon and the hype of new sets being released. Versus vintage, it's usually going with the flow of whatever the general macroeconomics are in the economy. That's what I would say I've noticed. These two things can indeed cross paths, as we saw with COVID, obviously, because the macroeconomics, after, you know, everyone got sent home and there was not really much to do, and so because of that, you saw a large influx of people into the Pokemon hobby because of, you know, reliving their nostalgia, and not to mention a huge amount of stimulus money being pumped into the economy. But overall, typically speaking, they usually have their own kind of ways in which they go up, which Pokemon Ultra Modern, although it can perform extremely well, obviously, when the market is in a really good time, and by the market I mean like the macroeconomics, it can also still perform bad in the macroeconomics. It can still perform good when we're, you know, in a bearish market, right? Versus what I would tend to say is that when it comes to vintage, it's usually either or. It's usually either the market's doing really good, vintage is doing really good, modern the macro market is doing really bad, therefore vintage is doing really bad. Because vintage is more or less, from an investment / collectability perspective, it's seen as a lot more of a hedge, right? Because you know what you're getting with it. Like, vintage is vintage. It's not going to get reprinted again. The supply of it for specifically sealed and singles, I mean, sealed is not going up. Singles, it could go up slightly, but not drastically as much as Ultra Modern. And so you're going to get most of your demand pockets coming from when people have more liquidity in the market. Typically speaking, that's going to come with a lower unemployment rate. You know, inflation in theory could play a factor into that, but not nearly as much as you would think, because what's usually a really good hedge against inflation, it's going to be putting your money elsewhere in things such as, you know, the stock market, in things such as the housing market, collectible commodities market, because it's a way for your money to not devalue itself significantly more. Because let's be honest here, ladies and gentlemen, if you've got, let's say hypothetically, a 5% inflation rate and you're just leaving your money in your bank account, it's losing 5% year over year, right? And you're just losing money. Versus you go through it in something that could potentially give you a yield. Obviously everything is speculative, there's always risk, please understand this is not financial advice. Then you're making that hedge against the value of inflation, right? And so that's usually how it is. However, I want people to also understand that you hear of these like returns specifically within the stock market. Like they say the stock market, you on average get a 7% return year over year. Typically that's not something that is immediate, right? It's not like, all right, it's at the end of the year, I've got my 7%. Like, no, this is something where you can have 1 year you do 20%, the next year you lose 20%, and then the year after that you make 10%, and then a year after that you make 5%. You know what I mean? Like, it's over a 3 to 5 year, you know, 5 to 7, 5 to like 10 year period. So you have to always take that into general consideration when looking at these forms of investments. Same concept is going to apply right now when looking at the macroeconomics of vintage. It's really stagnant right now. It's going to do really good long term because it is vintage. Pokemon is something I do believe in, and I think will have really good long term implications. It's just not something you're going to see an immediate effect of. What's happened, guys? It just went up 1,000% with a lot of the unlimited cards, and now it dropped 50%, even with that being said, dropping and still being up overall drastically, and now it's going stagnant. It's just taking some time to cool off. We're probably going to see potentially more downturn as, you know, the macroeconomics start to look more shaky, and we're potentially going into recession. I mean, arguably we're already in a recession. For that reason, I think it's something that could potentially lead to 3 to 5 years of potential stagnation or downwards pressure from the vintage market, and then finally once we start to see retrieval of that, it starts to do better, right? Or it could be, you know, a year to 3, it could be 2 to 3. I don't have a crystal ball, but I think there's still going to be quite a bit of time before we really start to see some long-term upwards price action movement from the vintage market across a whole, right? Obviously, there's always going to be certain segments within the vintage market that is going to perform better than others, because not everything performs the same. But, you know, when the market is generally over, you know, doing well, then most items will tend to go up. You just give me an idea with the pre-sale. Heck yeah, baby. Any news on EU people in the program? No news on EU people in the program. Not that I know of as it stands right now. Can we pre-order 151 through you? You can, if we have spots available for the program. I don't think we have spots available right now for 151 though. I mean, if I'm being honest, since we've gotten the news of Lost Origin reprints, since we've done pre-orders for 151 and Obsidian Flames, and there's going to be potentially more booster box reprints and more, I mean, the program itself, like, this might not seem like a big deal to you guys, but to my knowledge, we have had, I don't think we've had a single person leave in the past 3 weeks, which usually we have like 1 or 2 people leave at the first start of the month, and then 1 or 2 people leave at the near end of the month, right? So like 2 to 4 people leave and filter in and out of the program typically. So not having a single person leave, it's kind of making it hard, which right now we're in a really good spot in the program because our numbers are drastically vamping, right? Like, we just got so much more product for Obsidian, and we're probably going to get even more for 151 and then the following set after that. Like, my goal is that by the next booster box set, we're going to shoot for over 1,000 booster boxes. We're going to get over 100% allocations. And once we get to the point of where everyone's fat and happy, then we'll start to have a conversation about adding more people in the program. But for now, in my mind, I mean, what, 151 doesn't come out until September? Holy crap, we're 3 months from September? Jeez Louise, guys, that's crazy. I don't anticipate adding more slots to the program for, at minimum, at least another 6 months. That's where my mind is with that. Because I want to make sure that we take care of those current people that we have right now while things are looking on the up and up. Because we're starting to see, like there's always been value in the program. Obviously, there's been its down points where there's not really much to purchase in the ways of Pokemon. Like, you can always go to I mean, there's so much money in Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh! And Fab and these other games, so there's always going to be value there. But in terms of Pokemon, it's always been like stagnant. Like, sometimes there's value, sometimes there's not value. But where the most value comes from is new set releases. And so for me, I want to do my best to fulfill those as much as I can to the patrons so that we get everyone 100% allocations. And considering that we're now going to be getting 100% allocation fulfillment on Elite Trainer boxes, huge. That is huge. And obviously for booster boxes, we're still not there yet because people just order so many of them. It's going to be hard for us to do that. We're going to, you know, be able to fulfill for most people, you know, at minimum 60 to 70% of allocation numbers depending upon the person, right? Obviously that's going to fluctuate. If you're someone that orders 20 cases, you're probably not going to get 20 cases, right? But if you're someone that ordered like 1 to 3 depending upon your spend, you're going to get full allocations, right? Depending upon your spend, obviously. Versus if you're someone that ordered 10, you could see yourself getting 5 or 6, right? Maybe 7, depending upon how much you've contributed to allocations overall. So, but it's still optimistic though, because now we're going to get to a point where we're going to have people in the program that aren't going to be contributing to spend, and they're going to get allocations. But at that point, all the big spenders, I mean, in theory, they're probably going to want more, right? So, because at that point they're contributing, they gotta be getting more out of it, right? Looking back 10 years from now, do you think people will think Sword and Shield was better than SV? So far, I think people will pick SV1 and SV2 over Sword and Shield. Also, which era is better, Sun and Moon or Sword and Shield? That is a tough question to ask. Honest to God, I think Sun and Moon and Sword and Shield were 2 of our best eras we've had. And so it's extremely difficult. For the longest time, I've always said, personally for me, that the Sun and Moon era was always the best. But with the back end sets of Sword and Shield, it makes it really tough for that. So I look at the sets, right? And I compare the 2. Guardians, Sun and Moon, Burning Shadows, Rebel Clash, Base, and Darkness. All super crappy sets. Shining versus Champions, I think Shining is better. Crimson versus Vivid, it's not even a contest. Vivid, much better. Ultra Prism versus, I guess, Battle Styles. I mean, Ultra Prism performs so well. Ultra Prism's an incredible set. Obviously, there's not alternate arts, but Ultra Prism, I would argue, is a better set just based off of what's inside of it. Forbidden Light, Chilling Rain, not even contest. Celestial Storm versus Evolving, nice try. Dragon Majesty versus Shining Fates, because now we're looking at the two specialty sets. Dragon Majesty. Lost Thunder, Celebrate, 25th anniversary, come on guys. It's hard because when you look at this set, right, there's a lot of nuances to it. For example, Celebrations. It's a 25th anniversary set. It's a specialty set. We've never had that before. It was the first set that introduced the Shiny Vault. Obviously, you compare the two. If we want to compare Hidden Fates to Shining Fates, not even a question. Hidden Fates is far and away better, right? You look at the second half of this generation, alternate arts, Team Up, Unbroken Bonds, Unified Minds, Cosmic, incredible, fantastic, right? These hold up. I would make an argument that the best alternate art sets from Sun and Moon are still better other than Evolving and Crown Zenith when it comes to the best alternate art. So it's like neck and neck for me, right? But maybe this might sound controversial because character rares were not a thing yet for Lost Origin, Silver Tempest and such. But personally, I think that I prefer Team Up, Unbroken, and Unified over Silver Tempest, Lost Origin, Astral. So that's just a personal opinion. For that reason, I would say that arguably I like Sun and Moon slightly better, but there's some amazing sets like Crown Zenith and Brilliant Stars and Evolving Skies. And so it's hard for me to really say that I like it slightly better. But for me personally, I feel like it's just a personal preference at that point, just because I'm a huge Gen 4 fan. And the Gen 4 remake was Astral Radiance basically and Lost Origin, and I just felt kind of like it was underwhelming, versus Cosmic as a set was incredible. And I fell in love with Cosmic, and it's still one of my favorite sets to this day, if not my favorite set. Yeah, being able to pick up 2 to 600 booster boxes through the program can definitely make it a long-term fit based on, yeah, well 600, 600, I don't know about that. That would mean if one person were picking up 600, that would obviously have to be like thousands upon thousands, right? What would you do for a long-term investment for $1,000? Ooh, easy. I would invest in a case of Ultra Premium Collections Charizard. I would invest in a case of Elite Trainer boxes from Crown Zenith. Or not even a case if you don't want it. You can buy less thereof. But I still think a case is really cheap. And then I would invest in some UPCs, or a case of UPCs probably from 151 when that goes on sale inevitably. Come on, guys. Look at all these specialty sets that are going to be such a fire sale. You have to save a lot more money, in my opinion. If you only have $1,000, you do not have enough overhead to create a sustainable business. I would not follow the business until you get your hands in the dirt. I very much disagree with that. Not because... Here's why I disagree with that average player, is because I don't think he's saying that, oh, let me just build a full-on business with only $1,000. I think the question is more phrased of, I want to start my business. I only have $1,000. How do I start my business? It's not, here's my business. It's official. It's, I want to get the stepping stones there, right? And I think that with TCG player, there's been so many stories of people starting off with $100, $200, and they started their business and they turned it into $100,000 plus a year business, right? You can start a business with just enough money that it takes for you to file with your state, and having enough liquidity to at least, get your foot in the door somewhere. Obviously, $1,000 for specifically the business model that I'm referencing is more than enough. You're obviously going to be losing quite a bit of that liquidity off the bat, though, to trying to just build up your overall inventory and make it so that you can scale to get to level 4 and direct. But I would definitely say that this is the approach of starting a business versus it's a full-fledged business, right? Because like when I started my Pokemon business, I had roughly around $3,000 to $4,000 that I started with my Pokemon business, right? Which a lot of people would argue $3,000 to $4,000 is not a lot, right? Well, within my I mean, to be fair, it was during COVID, but within like the first 2-3 months, I grossed about $40,000. And for me, that wasn't something that was just free tendies, right? This was like 5% margins. But I was pushing volume through. And I was leveraging myself in a way that was going to make it so that I could make larger purchases, right? I was always of the belief that I'm going to fulfill orders. I know that people are going to order for a price that they're going to buy it for. And as long as I am making money in the process, then I am going to be growing my overall allocations long term. And to be fair, this is different because this is, talking about with having a distributor versus not a distributor. But I still think you can apply within the same process as you snowball with items in singles market, because inventory is obviously easy to come by from buying collections for 60% off market value, make a 15 to 20% return after fees on it, and walking away snowballing that money really quickly, right? If you go spend $1,000 on a collection and your margins are 20 to 30%, and it takes you about a month to recoup, not like make that additional 200 or 300. It takes you a month to recoup, which depending upon how old the collection is, that could happen real quick, right? And then you just keep like reinvesting. Sure, you might not see that liquidity immediately, but it's when it's the cash out is when you see that liquidity, right? It's the long tail theory of it all. There's a ton of money in Magic. Just pull the one ring, he gets it. Aroka is 22,500, something like that. It is quite a bit of money. Average return on flips would be 10 to 20%. If only doing 1K, I would focus on making many flips as possible in a month. Every flip is going to grow the seed. Do you know how strict direct is with the 600 a week sales for a month to get in, or if it ever declines, people will meet that requirement? Let me put it for you this, Herblore. When I moved from Oregon to Arizona, I had my TCG player account inactive from the month of August until I want to say January. So August, September, October, November, December, January. I had it inactive for about 6 months. Made maybe one sale through that time. Nothing happened to my account. So literally, once you do that 600 for the first, weekly sale for a month, once you've achieved that and you've been able to get into the direct program, then it's whatever. Like, they don't really care once you're in. They just want to make sure that you at least are going to do enough volume to where it makes sense. So, yeah, it's not something where if you don't keep it up, we're going to kick you out. Like, no, they don't do that. If you want to start a Pokemon business, the first thing I would ask yourself is, why do you want to start a Pokemon business? I don't think it's a hot take, but good advice. Most people will benefit more from taking more hours at the normal job than making a Pokemon business. I think that is really solid advice, average player, because a lot of the times the two biggest things, I've talked about this before, I'll say it again, the two biggest things that I come across when it comes to failed business owners is you have people that get into Pokemon, that love Pokemon, but don't know shit about running a business. And then there's people that get into Pokemon that know nothing about Pokemon, but know how to run a business because they think they can make a ton of money, and then they end up failing because they don't know Pokemon and they're not in touch with the community. You have to know both, right? And you have to be willing to do both, right? If you're just into Pokemon because you want to have a place to play with friends, you're going to fail. If you're just into Pokemon for the wrong reasons, well, I mean, obviously you want to make money, so it's not necessarily the wrong reasons, but your business model is not for the right reasons, which is growing a community, putting impressions on people to help foster a environment that is going to make people want to come back to you, then obviously you're going to fail. So it's like, you have to definitely try and do that, which, to be fair, this is more or less talking from the LGS perspective and not just the, online flipping perspective. And on top of that too, as you begin to scale the business more for the specific single selling, your your time at the very beginning is going to be very null because you're going to be less efficient as you don't have automation to help you. So your time value from a regular business compared to a Pokemon business is going to be drastically worse, right? Like starting off with only $1,000, you can, like I said, you can start off with any amount of money. But if you started off with $25,000, right, and you made payments on a Roka versus $1,000 and you were able to automate the whole entire process, I mean, come on, guys, like that's a completely different argument, right? You can make so much more money with so much more liquidity. Is investing in sealed actually worth it? Specialty ETBs, booster boxes, would it actually be worth any significant sum long term if everyone nowadays is holding it? Oh my gosh, yes. I've said this before, I'll say it again. There's so much money to be made. There's so much money to be made in investing in sealed product. Of course, there's always going to be money in it. For example, celebrations would be much worth 30th anniversary solely because everything is hoarding modern. That's so not true though. But here's the problem, Shozan. So I've said this before, I'll say it again. Because you hear this all the time. In theory, if that were true, then why is Evolving Skies booster boxes at $400 a pop? Evolving Skies booster boxes, there was a massive print of it that came out during the end of 2021, and prices were at $100 a booster box. It wasn't like, oh my god, it just came out at $200, no one could buy it. This was an item that was at $100, and it lasted at least a month or two, where it was at $100 to $110 a piece. Product is always going to move up if there's demand. And the thing is not everyone's sitting on product. I know that everyone has this weird like misconception that people are sitting on tons and tons of this product, but it's not true at all. Because the thing is you have a lot of people in this hobby that don't really believe in Pokemon, or they believe in Pokemon as an IP, but they don't really like love Pokemon for Pokemon. They're just here because they think they can make money. And when you started to see COVID end and the free tendies were not as plentiful, a lot of those people filtered out, right? It's kind of like with crypto. One of the biggest things is you have those people that were in crypto from the beginning because they believed in crypto. And then as soon as crypto started to become popular after the bear market happened, you start to hear all these people that know nothing about crypto that are trying to sell you their programs and their Ponzi schemes because all of a sudden they're now an expert on how they made so much money, right? The same kind of concept applies with Pokemon. During a bull market, you're going to have a lot more faces of people who don't really know crap about Pokemon, but are going to tell you or try and sell you on like certain things. But at the end of the day, in a bull market, everyone's winning, right? It's a lot easier to be a dumb bull than a smart bear, is the saying how it goes when it comes to the market. Versus the bear markets are when you're going to make the most amount of money because all those people that are in it for the wrong reasons are going to be flushed out because they're not believers, and you're going to take advantage of that with cheaper prices and opportunities, right? So you're just not going to see drastically as much. It might feel like it because it's hyperbolic during the time of the bull markets, but even then there's an argument to be made that we're still bullish right now, right? But we're not nearly as bullish as we were in COVID times, but look at still how some of these items are still 2xing, right? Like, there's still tons of products that is going up like crazy, and you know, that's just kind of how it is. And not to mention too, with sealed product, I've said this before, I'll say it again, sealed product is deflationary. The more that gets open, the less supply there is, and because of that, supply and demand economic theory, there's going to be more demand in Pokemon over time as the hobby grows, and as more sealed product gets older and older and it's not in print and it gets open, it's just going to go away. Hello from Ghana. Hello, Henry. Shout out to you. Do you have a card sorting machine, and do you think it's worth it? I do, and I think it is very worth it. We have one card sorting machine right now, and we're currently in the process of looking into getting a second one. So we have got the Roka, and we're looking at getting the Fizz badge. I hated to change this, but it's best for business itself. They should remove half grades, but kept the perfect, though. No, I agree. I concur 100%. CGC is extremely successful in comics. They will outperform PSA. Yes. Well, that's the thing, is they're going to be in comics. I'm not saying the business is going to fail. It's not. I don't want that to be perceived the wrong way. I guess more or less there's still a certain volume metric of how much is going to be there for the market share of cards, right? CZ Moltres promo is definitely gorgeous. Blackstone bought CGS, the parent company of CGC, in 2021. Probably the merger was part of the buyout agreement. I don't see a problem with them changing the grading classification from Mint to 1. Eli has a demand to supply. When supply outruns demand, then he can allow more people. There you go. The average player gets it. Do you have an own distro account for the program and a separate one for the store, or do you use the same account? I have the same exact account with the store. So basically how it works right now is with the agreement with the storefront, we have 4 distributors. I get allocations for Pokemon for 3 of the 4 distributors. The main agreement that I have right now with the storefront is that they get all the allocations for Magic, right? However, if there's any sort of weekly specials or actively open available product, then we will get it. My whole kind of thing I want to do with opening another location is that will give me the opportunity to get future Magic allocations, and then it will allow me to expand into getting more access to product allocations for Pokemon, right? Because although the storefront, you know, we get access to 3 out of the 4 allocations for Pokemon, one of the allocations that they get access to can still equate to another 60 to 100 booster boxes, right? And for me, that's something that's worth it. Pre-order pricing options is worth it. Magic allocation number is worth it. Eventually, as we scale the operation of our single selling, we're going to need space to begin with, and having it at a storefront location is going to be worth it. Selling a premium because you are going to be selling in store and you have overhead costs is going to be worth it. Being able to have a place to buy bulk for a cheaper rate because it's less competitive than online is worth it. I mean, there's a lot of upsides. And then what are the downsides? You have a large amount of overhead, right? But if you have the justifications to be able to supply that overhead, then it's worth it. The Real Geek PST. Do you buy Japanese booster box for your own personal investment? I don't, and it has nothing to do with I don't believe it, because I think VMAX Climax, when you have the opportunity to buy that at V-Star Universe at like 60, actually no, VMAX Climax and V-Star Universe, when you had the opportunity to buy those in like the 50s and $60, I think they were incredible, like opportunities. I just didn't do it because like I have so little time, and I can only put my eggs in so many baskets, right? And as a business owner, liquidity is one of the most vital things to being successful. And for me personally, it's a lot easier for me to justify just consistently bankrolling product into inventory that I have access to with distro at wholesale prices than try and sit on Japanese product. Now, granted, there could be opportunities to flip Japanese product and make money that way, but it's one of those things where unless it's like an opportunity that's staring me right in the face, I don't usually have the time to go through and research those opportunities because there's already so many other amazing opportunities that I have available to me. But it's good. I started with 5K credit card. I started with my credit card limit when I started my business was $1,200. And now my credit card limit on the same exact card is $42,000. So it's crazy how quickly it goes. I mean, I say quickly, but it's been several years. Do you think they will reprint any sets before Lost Origin? I would say that it's entirely possible, but at this point it's unlikely. What is the sweet spot quantity-wise investing in product, mainly booster boxes and ETBs? Always a case quantities. That's what I would always argue. For me, I would say that that I usually like to get at least 1 to 2 cases from each set. But also balloons. I appreciate the love for the channel. Thanks for stopping by. What's your take on future value of One Piece? Don't really follow One Piece that much, so it's hard for me to really say that, but I would be surprised if it didn't go down a little bit just based on the fact that the hype is real for it, and eventually it's going to slow down a little bit. Rory said he only did $400 and got in, so not too strict, I guess. Yeah, I don't remember having that requirement personally. I just emailed them and said, hey, can I get in the program? And they looked at my volume and they said, yeah, you can get in the program. And I was doing about $1,000 a month. So I think they're pretty lenient on it. Thank you for your answer. Did you apply for direct right after your first month week, or did you wait an additional week or two? Literally, I kid you not, I just was getting they reached out to me about it, actually. After I got access to the pro program, they literally reached out to me and said, hey, we have an opportunity for direct. If you would like to try and apply for that, we have a rep that we can set you up with and we can go through it with you. And then they literally just sat me down, talked me through it and what my expectations were for the program and whether it would be a fit for me. And I said, yeah, seems like it would be a fit. But literally it was after the pro program I got approved for that. I just had the meeting and was just having a conversation with them and I got approved. So I never even had to do that. So I would be highly shocked if it's something like Alfred was saying where I only had to do 400. So in terms of my inventory, though, I had about 8,000 cards in inventory. My sales were, I mean, I was at least doing 100 plus sales over the month. But I mean, think about it, guys. 100 plus sales, like, that's not a lot. It's not a lot of sales. I mean, right now we're doing at least several thousand sales a month. As Alfred says, I was at a constant 300 to 400 for 3 months and applied and got in. Would only have about 600 a week on release dates. Yeah, and I remember I was doing maybe $1,000+ a month in sales. So I never had that same sort of contingencies. I agree with 90% of the things you say, Eli. I appreciate that, Carlos. Hey, Eli, how's everything? It's not too shabby. It's keeping busy, keeping myself preoccupied. There's a lot going on right now. I'm making my fiance work her butt off right now because, so for those of you guys that don't know, I went ball in, dropped like almost $20,000 on trainer toolkits for inventory. And because of that, my fiance is in the process of packaging up 150 envelopes as we speak. So she is crying right now. And obviously I've been helping her out with that, but I'm currently streaming, so she is really mad. Well, she's not mad. She's just upset. She's just sad because she needs help. So in terms of how things have been going, they've been busy. It's always one thing after another, right? It's always, finally, release week is over. On to the next thing. Breaking down $20,000 worth of trainer toolkits and then selling them. Whew, finally done with that. Volume is slowed down. Moving on to the next thing. Now it's time to break down $15,000 worth of build and battles. Finally, moving on to the next thing. Magic. Time to break down 10,000. I mean, it's always something, right? Which that's one of the reasons why we're getting the Fizz batch is because it's gonna be so nice. It's gonna be so nice. It's really designed for like efficiency and sifting, which is gonna be huge for us in churning out volume. But I'm honestly at the point now too where, you know, I don't want her to obviously work on weekends because she's on, you know, salary, and I only require her to work 5 days a week, and working 6 to 7 for that's just effed up. So I'm honestly like currently in the process. We've discussed it about hiring someone just $15 an hour, literally just your job, break down boxes. That's literally it, because we need people to help us with breaking down trainer toolkits, breaking down build and battle stadiums. Like simple stuff like that, right? Like you could literally train a monkey to do it. So I'm at the point now where we've discussed that because her skills when it comes to what she does is very much detail oriented, and wasting it by having her work on stuff like that, it's just not like it's just not worth it, you know? But other than that, man, things are good. Just busy. How's the Sun and Moon alt art boom impacting Sun and Moon Sealed? It's 1 for 1, it looks like. So with new booster boxes and Obsidian being product massively, do you think Paldea will have value, or will 151 be the Evolving Skies of the year? Paldea will have value in the long term. It's just going to take some time to curate its value, as it is going to be overlooked by Obsidian and by 151. Alrighty, where am I in questions? Hopefully I'm gonna get kind of caught up here. I'm still so far behind. Thank you, Eli, and everyone else for answering. Of course. They denied me for TCG Player and Direct and had 2K plus in inventory and level 4 seller for over a year now. Jeez, Wrath, that's tough, my guy. Dang, I'm sorry, that sucks. Maybe it was because you had 2K in inventory. I think they're more stringent probably on the inventory than the sales volume. That's what I would have to guess. But I could be wrong, because 2K is not really a ton if you think about it. Didn't Direct end? What do you mean by that? Direct is still going strong. LOL, think of chasing the one ring for the $2 million bounty and prices are skyrocketing. Will work for a case of Paldea Evolved. I mean, dude, I think that the bounty is going to be something that... Here's the deal. I think that the contingencies that a lot of people are or are not taking into consideration is that when it comes to the one ring, right, it needs to be hush-hush. Because if you have the one ring... and you now control the market for Lord of the Rings specialty product. And this product, which is selling right now, I mean, come on, guys. Let's go take a look at this. And this is something you don't have to be in Pokemon to understand, right? If we go look at what's going on with Magic Lord of the Rings specialty collector boosters. Did I click Commander? I did click Commander. I was so confused for a second there. Okay, apparently this doesn't want to work. Commander, Lord of the Rings. Oh, I did it. I clicked Commander on accident. Whew, no wonder. Whoopsie. Yeah, if we go just take a look at what they're selling for right now, I mean, this is just crazy. Like, this is just insane. And obviously, this is no longer a pre-sale item. This is released. This has been released, and product prices for this item, like, talk about free tendies, ladies and gentlemen. We were selling this on distro for, how much was I selling it to you guys for? Was it like 300? I think is how much it was. 300. I mean, guys, like, you get 2 of these, you just paid for the program for 4 months. Like, like, it's crazy. It's crazy how free the tendies are with this. And so if you say to yourself, you're someone that got the ring, you purchased the ring, you now control the sealed market, because arguably speaking, if people know the ring's been pulled, there's some speculation, man. There is some speculation that prices could drop, right? And so it's like, what? Like, why would you want that to be announced, right? And this is my point at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen. And this has kind of been my one big pitch for the program. You don't have to be in Pokemon to get value out of this, because when you have stuff like this happen, whether it be in Magic, whether it be in Yu-Gi-Oh, whether it be in Flesh and Blood, whether it be in other sets, like, this is bonkers, bro. This is bonkers. Does this happen that often? I don't know, honestly, because I feel like there's always going to be opportunities. You just have to look for it, right? Will work for a case of Paldea, Don says, right? What's the cheapest way to buy stands? Prison. I've learned that if you have connections in prison, there is a really... I mean, I don't know, man. It depends, because for me personally, it's been eBay and Facebook. That's just usually where I buy it from. 25th anniversary One Piece. One Piece. $25. They were finally dropped to July. They're around 200 on eBay. Interesting. It's just hard for me to keep up with One Piece. I'll maybe get into Bandai product, but not there. I would love to see serialized Pokemon. I don't know what they're going to serialize, but I think it would be so sick. I would love that. I know people hate the idea. Oh, serialized Pokemon. Come on, guys. Like, collectors would love that. You have so much power controlling the market. $2 million in theory is so undervalued. Like, $2 million is ridiculously undervalued to have that power. Like, there's a sense of irony with the ring, because it's like, if you know what the ring, if you guys, I don't know if you guys follow Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is based off the tale of the Ring of Gyges, or Gyges, whatever, however it's pronounced. And the story of the how it works is basically the concept of the ring is from the biblical perspective of, if you had a ring that allows you to be invisible from God, so he could not see sin, how would that cause you to act? That's why everyone who wears the ring and becomes available becomes corrupted, because with this kind of philosophical concept, you're able to have zero, like, sort of responsibility when it comes to your actions, with not being held accountable for sin, right? Because obviously from the, biblical belief of the idea of sin and damnation for being someone who commits acts of, sin, then it's like one of those things where if you're not being judged for that, then why would you care, right? Like, that's kind of the general concept from a morality perspective. So it's extremely funny, because when you think of that now translating into Lord of the Rings, where there's one ring to rule them all, and now you can control sin within your own life. Now you have this one ring that controls an entire marketplace. So obviously it's not same from like a morality perspective, but it is same from a control perspective, which I kind of find fascinating, which is what I think is kind of funny to see, which, whether you like it or you hate it or not, whoever controls the ring rules the market. And they have the power to end it all and throw it into the pit by announcing they pulled it, or keeping it quiet and using the power of the ring. Last MTG set dropped 25% the week of release. Well, I mean, that's just how it is. Jim, Lord of the Rings is a Black Swan MTG for the last 4 years. Nothing goes up after MTG releases. Well, I mean, Jim, I look at Magic, Lord of the Rings, the same way I look at Pokemon Evolving Skies, right? I mean, even Evolving Skies singles crashed. Lord of the Rings singles probably going to crash, right? So I want this to be made very clear for those people that are hearing me talk about this, right? I'm not saying that every single new set release of Magic the Gathering immediately means free tendies. This is a specialty set that is extremely opportunistic, that you obviously want to take advantage of if you can. However, with that being said, in terms of general free tendies opportunities, I guess the point that I'm making is they're always going to be there. You just have to look at them. Some are more obvious than others, for example, like this set, but that's, there's just other opportunities that a lot of people are sleeping on that aren't aware of. So that's more or less want to clarify that, just so people understand that doesn't mean the newest Magic set is also going to be exactly the same. No, this is a specialty serialized set with licensed rights for Magic, Lord of the Rings. So it's got to be. Yeah, I feel like that's pretty obvious, but it's still just to know. Zachy, the program we speak of is we have access. So we have a wholesale program that we have, where basically if you're a part of it, you pay a monthly fee and you get access to wholesale product pricing for Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Flesh and Blood, and a lot of other stuff. It's just stupid to serialize Pokemon. Some people are still struggling to find product. It's a genius concept, though. I mean, but the thing is like people are not really struggling to find product. Like product for Pokemon is literally sitting on shelves. It is. It's sitting on shelves. At least, you know, and to be fair, average player, you are obviously, you're in Europe and we're in the US, so it's completely different market out there with you guys. So I'm looking at it from the perspective of in the US. Not to mention, too, Japan has announced that for 151, they're going to be printing it to demand. So it appears if Japan's going in the direction of printing more heavily, like Pokemon USA does. So for me, it's like hard for me not to say that it isn't going to be readily available for when it does end up coming out. Wow, Eli knows his Tolkien. Most people don't understand the books were written from a Christian perspective. Well, I mean, J.R. Tolkien was huge fans, and they were really good buddies. And C.S. Lewis had a huge amount of inspiration from him with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and that whole entire book trilogy. I read them all growing up as a kid, so I was very fascinated with literature when I was a lot younger. So I very much know a lot. I mean, I've read The Hobbit multiple times. Huge fan of the Lord of the Rings series. So, oh yeah, I'm very deeply fascinated by the philosophical backing behind it all. I really do enjoy it because it talks a lot about from the perspective of human nature, which is something that's always fascinated me, right? The concept of good and evil, the concept of inalienable rights, and the belief of individuals to have their own, how do I want to say this? Their own kind of predisposition of what is human nature and tendencies, right? What's up, Collector J? Good to see you as always, James. Hopefully all is well with you. Well, I should probably mention it because James is here and he'd be mad if I didn't say anything about it. Ladies and gentlemen, we're doing Twitter giveaways right now. If you want to be a part of it, we got a Lost Origin Lead Trainer box that we're currently giving out. All you have to do to enter is go make sure you give us a follow, retweet the post to enter in. Also, let's get a couple likes on the video. It really does help the algorithm. It helps the channel. And obviously, if you want to enter into giveaways, make sure you leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe. So, appreciate you guys all as always. But I thought I would mention that since we're still pretty deep in the video. It's about time I mentioned that. But, where are we, ladies and gentlemen, on questions? Because I feel like I am still so far behind. Boop, 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 boop. I'm writing this down so would the person who gets the card be corrupted? So some yeah, right? Exactly. See, I thought about that, Swirly serialized Pokeball 1-of-1 Master Ball, but you know, it's hard because I feel like that would be so boring. I wish there was something cooler in Pokemon that would be like, you know, because Pokemon, I feel like, is not the same as Magic where it can just licensing rights things, you know? 151 Japan, I mean, if we just see the history of what's happened most recently with specialty sets in Japan, usually it just continues to climb up in price until they announce a reprint and then it crashes and then that's it. It's done. No more. And then it just keeps climbing. I don't want serialized cards. To me, it just makes people do scummy things or brings in scummy people. But here's the thing, BC3, is you're always going to have scummy people no matter what when something good happens. It's just the drawbacks of anything good. Right? It's just human nature. Pokemon 151 has seen like a 40% increase in the past. It's been fantastic. Very true, Eli. C.S. Lewis and Token were very good friends. My mothers were named after Lord of the Rings. Lorien. Oh, that's cool. I like that. Eli, print to the man in Japan only goes to 1 booster box per person, not print as much as possible. Okay, well, that's good to know. Thank you for clarifying that. But they still have at least mentioned, though, average player, however, that they are at least going to focus on getting another print wave for 151 at some point. Is that not true? Or am I wrong? First Lord of the Rings movie I saw was 25 plus years ago and was animated. I saw that one. I saw The Hobbit animated. That was one of the first ones I saw. Lord of the Rings cookbook. Well, you guys want to hear of something cool? So back in my hometown, there was an architect that was super... hold on, I gotta look this up. So there was an architect in my hometown who was a huge fan of The Hobbit and just the Lord of the Rings. And so literally this was like 5 minutes from my house, but they had a bunch of architecture that was built within a neighborhood inspired by just the style of the Hobbit homes. So if you literally go to my hometown, you can see a lot of these like style of homes. Like there is a ton of these different types of Hobbit homes, and they're honestly so sick. They're so gorgeous too. Our old dog groomer owned one of the homes, and that's when I first found out about it, because I went to go pick up our dog and I was like, holy crap, this is so cool. If we order 2023 trainer toolkits via Patreon, when can we expect for them to be shipped out? I mean, if it depends. If you've already ordered them, most of them should have already been shipped out or are being shipped out. And if you order them now, then you know, same general transit times, like, you know, arrive within usually a week. Where did the ES-ETB rumors come from? I did find 12 ES-ETBs last week, though. The rumor came from, I think it was Paladin Cards announced it on Twitter is where it first started. And then it went through the grapevine from there. Serialized pseudo-legendary starters and one-of-one legendaries. Ooh, I like that. Thank you. One-of-one legendaries. That'll be it. That'll be it. That would be sick. Hey, Mason's in the chat. What's up, Mason? The obvious play would be just making alt arts with shiny Pokemon that would be exponentially more rare than others. Mason, why is it that you have to be the one to say the smart, obvious thing? Why? Thank you, Mason. That is so freaking true. That is 1000% it, right? You know what? I got this, ladies and gentlemen. I got this. Are you ready for this? Building on what Mason just said, here's what it would be. Remaster, kind of like an evolution style set, right? Evolution style set. However, they're going to make the old odds of pulling a shiny, so 1 in 8,024 from like the video games. However, specifically, they're going to make it so that when it comes to all of the shiny starters, there's only going to be one of each. Or maybe they just do one of the shiny starters. You know how they always are, right? But I think that if they did like a remake of like base set, but they serialized it with shiny Pokemon and made it like exponentially rare, I think they could do something like that where it would make a lot more sense from a shiny perspective. And you could pull other shiny Pokemon from the 151, so it's like a master of 151, but it's like 1 in 8,000 to pull them, so they're still exponentially more rare. Or, you know, if you don't want to do that, you can do 1 every 1,000, 1 every 500, whatever, right? But you make it so that there is a one of when it comes to the shiny starters, or maybe the shiny Mewtwo, or the shiny Mew, or whatever it is, right? All right, I said my one smartest comment. Back to Lurkin. It's a great, hey, I mean, it definitely is a great one. The Lord of the Rings should have shipped out either yesterday or this morning. I talked to my guy about it, and him and I were on the phone for like 4 hours as I was helping him prep the label, so it should have been dropped off by now. Go to the Shire, New Zealand, very cool place. Well, of course, I bet, man. I mean, that's where it all, you know, that's where it all came from. Mason does indeed know his consumers. With the push to all digital gaming, what is your opinion on investing in sealed video games? I think that there is so much market manipulation with WADA that it is something that I think will do well long term, but I think right now there's just so much speculation on what's legit prices or not. It scares me a ton. Yeah, at this point, Macy, we've hopefully figured it all out. Seal promos on TCG Player this weekend, everyone. Next, they'll make a super shiny Pokemon like a white and gold Charizard. I'm still waiting for them to make an anime set where they have like certain Pokemon that have only been introduced in the anime. Like, for example, the Crystal Onyx. Like Pokemon like that, or like the like just Pokemon that they're not shiny, because obviously, you know, Onyx shiny is not crystal, it's more of like a goldish color. So it would be cool if they did something like that as a specialty set, and they introduced the anime like special, you know, episode related Pokemon. I like the odds from Platinum Era for the shiny is not guaranteed 1 per box. Yeah, so for the Platinum Era, it's like 1 in every 72, if I'm correct. Better concept would be to print 500 each and 1 in every 10 cases. I know, we scared them off. Shiny Pokemon serialized with different quantities for different Pokemon balls. There you go. Oop, Jimmy gotta pay you taking money before... Where's them packs though from the old Poke Hallmart? Which ones? The ones that most recently were ordered? Because if you're talking about here, I gotta. Well, now okay. Now we're starting to get into the root of other things. Okay, I gotta. All right, give me a sec. Give me a sec. I gotta look at some things now. Alrighty. Alright, now I gotta... Now you're gonna make me look at something. Those I literally probably won't ship out till the end of the week. So... I have all of the Silver Tempest on hand, but I don't have all the Lost Origin on hand. And basically just put in an order for that yesterday. It seems as if we ordered a considerable amount where it potentially is going to be an LTL. So there's going to be a 1-day delay with that. And then I'm going to have to break them down. And then I'm going to ship them out either end of week or early next week. So that's kind of what the anticipation is for those. Giant Dragonite from that season 1 episode. There's another one. Then you would have 151 cards serialized, 1 of 500 to 500, 500. Some serious collectors would pay to have all of the serial 1 cards. I mean, it's basically like you're bringing back first edition almost. There you go, Probosaur, Shadow Mewtwo. Yes, there's another one. Why have we not brought in Shadow Pokemon yet? Why is that not a thing yet? That's crazy to me they haven't done that. I mean, they've done Dark Pokemon, which I guess that's the same thing, but when was the last time we did a dark Pokemon other than Sylveon, like from Celebrations and the remakes, which was, you know, whatever. Like, not really. We haven't done Shadow Pokemon before, I feel like. Shadow Lugia would be sick. That would be a sick one to have. Yes, I can totally check that for you, Christian. I can totally check it for you, my guy. Yeah, there's so much opportunities in terms of art designs for Pokemon. It's insane. But, all right, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to start wrapping up here because we're in the witching hour. We got about 5 more minutes before we start to wrap things up. But obviously, got to remind everyone, make sure you leave a like, comment down below, subscribe, hit that notification bell. We're doing giveaways on Twitter as well. And outside of that... we got spots for Patreon. Definitely recommend you join if they ever open up. And then outside of that, it's the Discord. It's the place to be if you want to stay up to date all things Pokemon UC. Eli, what is your favorite Pokemon? Mine is Hypno. Easy. My favorite 3 are Pseudo-Legendary. It's Garchomp. Legendary, it is... Legendary, it is Giratina. And Mythical, it is Darkrai. Those are my 3 favorite Pokemon by their specific types. Favorite starter? Turtwig. What is the common theme? Who would have guessed it? He loves Gen 4. If you don't do that, will you hate us? Well, considering, Tom, you are in the Discord, you are in the Wholesale program, you are subscribed. So all you need to do is leave a like and comment down below. Yeah, I will let you know. Wrath is Garchomp, Giratina, Lucario, and Cameron. I don't know where... Camereon? What's Camereon? I don't think that's a Pokemon. I'm surprised that Wrath, your favorite is not Zapdos. My best friend's favorite is Giratina, very popular. And you know what's the worst part about it is Giratina is my favorite, yet I don't really like the Giratina alt-art design from 151 or from Lost Origin that much. It's okay, like it's not bad, but it looks like you're on an acid trip. Of course, Don. I see. That's what I think, Tom. I thought he was trying to say Camerupt. I don't know what Cameron is. I'm surprised it isn't Zapdos, right? That's what I'm saying, dude. So you don't like the Magikarp art then? Magikarp art then is awesome. I love the Magikarp art. Greninja. Top 2, baby. What's wrong with tripping on acid for Oh my god. You guys are funny. Greninja, Gyarados, and Arcanine. There we go. Oh, he's responding to you? Oh, that's funny. I love Mew. Shiny Mew is still by far my favorite legendary shiny. Or one of my favorite legendary shinies by far. It's also very nostalgic to me because of Dragon Frontiers. But, alright, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to wrap it up here. I want to thank you guys all so much for stopping by. I already gave you the spiel, so I don't got to do it again. But that is all for today's video.